Artability is an apt name for the show that we're about to present for you today. Yes, it's about art, but it's about much more than that. The Artability exhibit at the Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital, a mainline health entity, is unique because it emphasizes the abilities of people who happen to have a physical or a cognitive disability and not their disability. What we're about to show you now is a treasure of juried art from people from around the country and around the world who have had the misfortune to incur a physical or a cognitive disability and who have risen above that through their inner strength and perseverance. The Artability exhibit has a theme of the triumph of will and determination over misfortune and how artistic talent can come to the fore and not be dissuaded because of a life setback. I'm sure that you'll appreciate this show from an artistic viewpoint, but more importantly, you'll be emotionally moved and inspired. So sit back and enjoy Artability. Christine, Sherman, thanks for coming. Thanks for being with us and taking time out for your schedule, and let's get into it. Christine, what exactly is Artability?
Artability is a year-round celebration of art made by artists with disabilities. We try to create community awareness and to try to help artists find fulfillment in creating artwork.
Christine, how does Artability support the overall mission of the Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital?
Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital is part of Mainline Health Systems, and our goal is to serve patients and their families that can benefit from cognitive or physical therapies. The mission of the hospital is to maximize recovery for all of our patients, to help them learn ways to compensate for an injury or for an illness, as well as for them to find purpose in their life, to provide dignity and quality. What's unique is that when we engage patients with art, it can be very therapeutic for them, and you'll often find our clinicians using our artwork in patients' therapy and to motivate them.
Wow. Sherman, let's turn to you. When did Artability begin?
Artability began at Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital in 1996. It started as an 8-week exhibition. Bill and Doris Gordon, who are strong supporters of the hospital, came up with the idea to have this program. It was when they were vacationing in New Zealand that they met landscape artists with disabilities. And it was that encounter and that subsequent purchase which inspired the vision to adorn the walls of the hospital with artwork by artists with disabilities.
Christine, tell us how the program may have changed over the years.
The annual art exhibit is now a 12-week show, now extended from the original inception. We have artists from all around the world. So in addition to our annual exhibit, we are able to sell our works online now. We take our work out into the community and travel with it so that people beyond the walls of the hospital can see the artwork. And we also do corporate acquisition sales.
Sherman, tell us how Artability is funded.
Sure. Over the years, we've relied heavily on corporate donations as well as private donations and some grant funding. Just recently, we just completed a $2 million endowment campaign that will ensure Artability's future.
Christine, is Artability the only local art show for people with disabilities?
No, there are several other art shows in the area, but Artability is the largest international juried art show of its kind, with a unique population of artists. 3 of our artists came from foreign countries, and 30 states were represented in our past show. We do have artwork from patients from Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital, as well as other rehab facilities. We do have a great example of local art done here by Sal Panassi, who is an artist in our show, as well as has been a patient at the hospital.
We had the opportunity to catch up with Sal, so let's hear from Sal about his experience with Artability.
I was first introduced to Artability as a result of being a patient here at Bryn Mawr Rehab. I was in an automobile accident in 1995 and diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. Part of my therapy here was to maybe become involved in the arts. I had never really had an interest in fine art. I had a background in art, but not fine arts. So I started painting, and my first exhibit here was in 1996, which was the second year of Artability, and I've been exhibiting ever since. So it's going on 20 or 21 years now. But Artability has really done a lot for me in terms of giving me a new identity. After my accident, I had to retire because I couldn't perform my job any longer. And I kind of lost a lot of my identity at that point because was 20 years into my career. So Artability has given me a new identity in terms of not that I was less of a person, but I became a new person. And through Artability, I've met just wonderful people. People I never would have had an occasion to meet had it not been through Artability. Artability also provides a great venue for all the disabled artists who participate, because there aren't a lot of disabled art shows throughout the country. I think there may be a handful. So in that regard, it's very valuable. It was suggested, as I mentioned, that I try art therapy as part of my rehabilitation. And not having a background in fine arts or even an interest in art at the time, I thought, well, let me do some watercolor paintings. And my goal that I set for myself was to get one painting completed and hopefully accepted into the show. Well, as it turned out, I completed 6 paintings, all watercolor paintings, still lifes, landscapes, and all 6 paintings sold. The first Artability I was in. So I thought, wow, there's really something to this, you know. I ought to continue doing this. And it's been going on since then. I have exhibited my work in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, galleries up and down the East Coast. I used to do my painting in the garage or in my basement, but we last year had a real studio constructed for me since this has taken off so much. So I have a dedicated working studio just for my painting. And that's been a very welcome addition to our home. When I walk down the halls and I look at the pieces of art that have been accepted into Artability, it just sparks so many ideas, and I'm so impressed with the quality of the artwork that you can't look at it and come away with the idea, well, that must have been done by a disabled artist, because it's not a very good piece of work. The artwork is terrific, and it's so varied. You have people who do sculpture, you have people who do crafts, you have people who do painting, and painting in all different mediums: oil, watercolor, pastel, acrylics. It's just all over the place, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. And the turnout is always very, very good for the show. I think it's really caught on, and it's an international show now. Artists from all over the world submit work to Artability. My influences are pretty varied, but if I had to pick two well-known famous artists, I would pick Claude Monet for his Impressionism pieces. I just think they're magnificent. The sense of color and brushwork that he used was absolutely fabulous. And interestingly enough, some of his better paintings were done when he had cataracts and even lost the vision in his right eye. And he is actually claimed to be the father of expressionistic art, abstract expressionism, because his sight was so poor that he really couldn't distinguish shapes or color. He would just make marks on a canvas, which led to the abstract expressionist. So in that regard, Monet is an influence on me. In terms of abstract art, I like Franz Klein, who was part of the New York School in the 1940s. I like Joan Mitchell, another abstract artist, Willem de Kooning, all those artists have all influenced me in one way or another, taking little pieces from each one and putting them into my work. On occasions, I am asked by the development office, the people in Artability, if I would appear with them at a school to talk to the children about art and making art, the process of doing art. And I'm always enthused about doing that because I like to share the creation of art with other people, whether it be autistic children or children who have other disabilities. I'm always very, very willing to go and talk to them about artwork and creating art. My inspirations come from actually being in the field, come from places that I have visited, or come from photographs that I've taken. This particular water lily painting was taken from a photograph that I took at Jenkins Arboretum, which is right around the corner from where I live. Again, being influenced by Claude Monet, I thought that might be a nice subject to try and tackle. So I find myself working in series, whether it's a series of water lilies or a series of floral still lifes. I seem to get caught up in that regard with a particular subject matter. And then I exhaust that and look for something else to move on to and explore that and so on and so forth. So right now I'm in my water lilies phase. In terms of Bryn Mawr Rehab, after my injury, I was here for 14 months as an outpatient. I was really pretty banged up. And thanks to all the therapists and doctors at Bryn Mawr Rehab, they managed to put me back together. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I'm as good as I'm gonna get. And I have nothing but high praises for the nurses, doctors, all the staff at Bryn Mawr Rehab for helping me get to the point where I am. And I hope that other artists who participate in Artability also can experience that sense of healing and encouragement that Bryn Mawr Rehab has imparted to me.
Well, wasn't that great about how Artability affected Sal's life? Well, tell me about how the artists apply and how they're selected for Artability.
Artists are encouraged to submit their work to our website, callforentry.org. However, if artists are challenged in doing so, we're more than willing to help. Artists can submit up to 6 works of art, and we accept artwork in the categories of works on canvas and board, works on paper, sculpture, photography, mixed media, jewelry, and fine craft. The submission is in the spring through midsummer, and at the end of the summer, a team is assembled to look at all of the artwork and exhibit and select artists for the exhibit. For more information about our program, you may go to mainlinehealth.org/artability.
Sherman, how many artists participate annually in Artability?
Well, through the Call for Entry website, we receive art of upwards of 400 artists and over 1,000 works of art. The exhibit is on the first floor of the hospital, so we're only able to exhibit around 400 works of art.
Christine, when is the annual exhibit?
Our exhibit opens the first Saturday of November each year, and then is followed by 12 weeks of show. It's open free to the public. The opening night of the exhibit is a ticketed event and a great opportunity for guests to interact with our artists. They're present. It's a way for them to experience the art in a different way.
Christine, Sherman, thanks very much for being with us today, and what a great public service you've given to make the community aware of Artability. What a fantastic program it is.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Well, folks, I think that you'll agree that what you've just seen is amazing and certainly eye-opening. Most of all, we hope that our show has enabled you to see another aspect of the world of those who live with a disability, that their disability doesn't have to define them, but can embolden them to achieve new creative heights. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Lou Beccaria, and it's been my pleasure to be your host. And now you know.